Ms. Blake, I'll just inquire on the record, but are there going to be any graphic images in this?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, labeling someone dark, lowering their death percentage, marking them for death. What is the appropriate measure of justice? On August 12th of 2019, Lori switched Tylee's Social Security payments to go into her sole, meaning Lori's sole, BBVA account. The first payment was deposited on August 28th of 2019. Less than 2 weeks later, Tylee was dead. On September 18th of 2019, Lori received the first payments associated with the Social Security that she and JJ were receiving because of Charles' death. Just 5 days later, JJ Vallow was dead. Lori found out that she was not going to get the $1 million life insurance policy on Charles around July 11th of 2019, and she messaged Chad to let him know that. But remember what she told Chad, I'll still get the $4,000 in Social Security. On September 8th of 2019, Tammy's life insurance was increased. Chad signed off on that application. Tammy was dead just a little over a month later, while the attempted shooting was almost 1 month to the day that she upped her life insurance. Remember, the multiple messages relaying the plan is for Chad and Lori to be together, alone on a beach, unencumbered by telestial obstacles. Unencumbered by earthly obstacles. Chad formed the plan. That plan included manipulating those around him to ensure that he could end up on a tropical island with Lori Vallow, who eventually became Lori Vallow Daybell. She was a woman that he deemed to have perfect proportions and to be a goddess. But in order to fund a new lifestyle, living on a tropical island and spending all your time with your new goddess lover, how do you fund that lifestyle? And how do you remove the obstacles to getting there? First, Chad taught others that he could determine whether someone was dark and or possessed. Second, he taught others that if someone was possessed or too dark, then the body had to be destroyed or die to free the person. Third, he started teaching those around him that he could determine death percentages. Essentially, this meant that Chad could mark someone for death and determine when it was their time to go. He exhibited that power to those around him. He exhibited that power of his self-proclaimed visions to those who believed him and followed him. When we talk about if the murders were committed for remuneration or financial gain, the defendant received $430,000 in life insurance money after Tammy's death, money that was used to fund his life in Hawaii with Lori. Lori continued to receive the Social Security payments from the kids whose bodies were hidden on Chad's property so that they could continue to receive those Social Security payments. The murder was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, manifesting exceptional depravity. What else could these murders be? Tylee, unknown cause of death, because of her body being burned so severely, there were charred bones, remains in a melted green bucket. JJ, cause of death, plastic bag, asphyxiation by a plastic bag over his head. Not only that, but he had tape over his mouth, a plastic bag over his head, tape around that bag, his arms duct taped from elbow to elbow, and then placed in a black garbage bag. He also had scratches on his neck. and you saw the last known video of JJ. Those scratches don't appear to be there. Tammy, cause of death by asphyxiation, manner, homicide. Tammy killed in her own home, a place where she should have felt safe. Her life extinguished. By the murder, the defendant exhibited utter disregard for human life. Tylee was only 16 years old. JJ only 7 years old. Tammy, a 49-year-old mother of 5. The mother of the defendant's kids. It didn't matter the age of the victim or who relied on them and loved them. If they were in the way of Chad and his plan, and or if there was money to be gained for Lori and Chad, those individuals were marked for death. The defendant, by prior conduct or conduct in the murder at hand, has exhibited a potential to commit murder, which will probably constitute a continuing threat to society. Again, 3 victims killed, all at different times. Again, the defendant determining who was possessed, determining the death percentages, and once again, the defendant determining when it was their time to go. And Alex Cox believing and trusting Chad 100%. Alex said shortly before his death, "I am worried I am going to be their fall guy." Another statement he made, "Either I am a man of God or I am not." Lori, when asked about believing Chad, "If Chad is a Satan, he sure is a good one." Chad told more people than just Lori and Alex about people being dark. You heard of other people that were labeled as dark by Chad, including 12-year-old kids. The only difference is it was only those that stood in his way of his plan or who there was going to be financial gain from that ended up dead. Ladies and gentlemen, you will decide what justice is. At every stage of the development of the plan that resulted in the death of Tylee and her body being burnt, with parts still missing, the death of JJ wrapped in plastic bags and duct tape and discarded in Chad's yard, the death of Tammy Daybell, who had her ability to breathe, to live, suppressed. Tylee was last seen on September 8th of 2019. JJ was last seen on September 22nd of 2019. Then Tammy was discovered deceased in her home, October 19th, 2019.
My name is Tammy Daybell.
At any point between these deaths, the defendant could have stopped, but he didn't. He continued to rate people as dark and zombies. He continued to determine death percentages, and he continued to move forward with his plan to ensure that he was on a beach with Lori Vallow, unencumbered by earthly relatives, earthly obstacles. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask you to consider what is just in this case in rendering your decision. Thank you.
All right, thank you. At this time, the defense may present a closing if you wish, Mr. Pryor.
Question to,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen, I want to go back to the indictment in this case. And the indictment accused Chad Daybell of espousing religious beliefs. And if you go back and look at the indictment, it talks one of the overt acts was espousing the religious beliefs to justify a killing. One of the other overt acts is that they claim that Chad did a south-southwest wind direction. And if you look back at the indictment, you'll see that all of the other overt acts, every one of them dealt with, as far as JJ and Tylee are concerned, dealt with actions by Lori Vallow. When we talk about remuneration, let's go back and do a little history lesson. Let's talk about Joseph Ryan. Before Chad ever knew Lori Vallow, the plan was set for Joseph Ryan and Lori to collect the insurance, the life insurance proceeds. The plan was already in place before Chad was ever even in the picture. And then we get the plan with Charles Vallow. And then I know I spoke to you at the time of my closing about Chad Daybell and the insurance for, that Lori was claiming to get on Chad. If you've made your decision, but if you look at the indictment, the allegations with Chad Daybell are not about remuneration or money. The allegations with Chad Daybell were allegedly religious beliefs and espousing religious beliefs. And the time we spent on the screen was about religious beliefs that he claimed to have had and that he espoused. This had nothing to do with money. Nothing to do with money. The insurance on Tammy Daybell, the $300,000 was set in 2002. And the state cannot allege that in 2002, Chad Daybell had some plan to collect insurance. When you look at the documents of the upping in the insurance, Tammy Daybell upped her insurance because it was relatively cheap. But the reason Chad Daybell signed that document and signed off is because he was also getting $20,000 insurance. And the only reason he had to sign was because if you listen to what the real estate or the insurance folks said, is if he's getting insurance as well on himself, he has to sign. This has nothing to do with money. You found that there was murders. And I want you to read the statute and the directions and what the judge has presented to you as what you have to find in terms of atrocious conduct. And the judge specifically said there that if you find that there was a murder, that's not enough. You have to go beyond bounds of human decency. And if you look back at this case, if you recall, Chad Daybell was never present for the actual murder of Tylee Ryan. Chad Daybell was never present. There were many other people present for the murder of JJ Vallow. And whether you believe or not that Chad Daybell suffocated Tammy Daybell, and it's as tragic as that is, that doesn't reach the heinous, atrocious conduct that's defined by what the judge is instructing you. And at this point, folks, I'm going to ask you to find that there was no conduct that rose to the level that the state is trying to present at this point. Thank you.